Chapter 1: Your Ultimate Retirement starts here. When I first started my career as a financial advisor 40 years ago, I knew right away that I would specialize in retirement planning. I had a kinship with clients who walked into my office full of fear and anxiety as they neared retirement. They knew they had some seriously consequential decisions to make, ones that would affect their quality of life in retirement, and they were wary of placing their future in the hands of an outsider who couldn't possibly know what kept them awake at night and what mattered most to them, and who likely couldn't relate to the momentous life change they were facing. Well, they were right about the last thing. I was just at the beginning of my career and had no intention of slowing down anytime soon. But I could absolutely relate to the trepidation and vulnerability they felt about placing their lifetime savings in the hands of a stranger. Why? Because I had been taken advantage of by a broker earlier in my adult life. When I was working as a waitress, I had a $40,000 loan from customers and friends that was meant to help me start my own restaurant. I entrusted that vast sum to a hotshot young broker who put it all in a high-risk investment product without warning me of the potential downside. And guess what? I lost it all. It was devastating to me. It wasn't even my money to lose. It felt like the end of my dream, but it also ignited the fire in me to become a financial advisor who would earn the trust of her clients. It became my mission to help people on the verge of retirement keep their earnings safe and secure. As I write this today, I am 68 years old. There's no question anymore about whether I can relate to people nearing retirement, because I too have decades of my working life behind me. The time in the future when I will no longer work is not all that far away. I have plenty of expertise in the psychological and emotional tugs that take hold as we age, and I have empathy in spades for your hopes, your fears, and your wishes for the generations ahead of you and the loved ones in step beside you. The advice I have to share in this book comes from a heart that knows money decisions are never just about money, and I have an appreciation that what you must figure out is far more complicated than what my clients and I had to contend with back in the 1980s. Back then, for those who didn't want stock market risk in their portfolio, I would recommend 30-year Treasury bonds that paid up to 15.5% interest. I have to tell you, it was one of the best investments I ever made for my clients. Money market accounts were paying more than 18% interest, so it was easy to park money there while you came up with an investment strategy. Inflation was high as well, but not as high as the yields my clients could earn on safe savings. If they worried about the volatility of stocks, there were 3 bear markets between 1968 and 1982. They could just stick with their safe income investments. Perhaps the biggest difference was that back then the 401 and defined contribution plans had yet to append retirement planning. Most people did not have to decide what to do with large lump sums of money. Most of my clients were retiring from a company where they'd worked for 30 years or more, and that meant they were retiring with solid pensions that reflected a lifetime of service. The guaranteed monthly income from their pension provided enough to live on comfortably. Moreover, most companies offered retirees health care benefits to supplement Medicare. Today, very few do. It really was a simpler time back then. People did not fear retirement. They looked forward to it. Today it's a whole different story. Most companies stopped offering pensions long ago. Today it's only common for public sector workers to have a pension, and even those who are fortunate enough to have a pension fear that it will be underfunded. Most people have had to fund their own retirement by saving their money in 401(k) and IRAs. Now they must make decisions about how to manage the money they have saved. They wonder whether they should just leave their money in their former employer's plan or move it elsewhere. If they move the funds, how should they invest them? The most stressful decision for many people is deciding how much can be withdrawn each year. Taking out too much money in the early years of retirement raises the risk that there will be no money left for those who live into their 90 seconds. And living into your 90 seconds is no longer an outlier event, it's now quite common. Taxes are another challenge. Most people who are in their 60 seconds today have saved for retirement in accounts where every dollar they withdraw in retirement will be taxed as income. For some time now, interest rates have been virtually non-existent. Good luck finding a safe, non-fluctuating investment that will offer you more than 2.3% interest. Some good news is that inflation has been even lower than the interest rates paid on safe savings. But today's low yields make it hard to imagine living solely off the income from safe investments, as your parents and grandparents did. What about Social Security? Will it be there for you when you retire? And what about volatility in the stock market? Though the market is at an all-time high, there are indications that we are heading toward a recessionary time. Is the market safe enough for your money at this stage of your life? There are for sure a lot of challenges today. So many unknowns that loom on the near horizon for those of us within a decade or two of retiring and those who have settled into a retirement that may last for 2 or 3 decades. That is what compelled me to write this book. I have always believed in that time-tested adage, where there's a will, there's a way. You are here with me now, reading these pages, because you have the will to confront this situation head-on. armed with information that will build your confidence. I will show you the way. In the chapters ahead, I will guide you toward making decisions that will deliver you to your ultimate retirement. Calling all warriors, I have news for you. The most valuable asset you own at this stage of your life is your spirit. It's not your retirement money, not the equity in your home, but the attitude and energy you bring to the job of planning your future. How you think about yourself today and how you envision your future are everything. A positive, can-do attitude will carry you forward into the future when times are good but also when times are not so good. If you're able to face the future with the strength and conviction that you can handle whatever comes your way, well, your future will indeed be bright. And that's the goal, right? Being able to face the future without fear. Being able to envision better things ahead. That is what makes the so-called golden years truly golden. But sadly, that's not what I'm hearing from many of you. When you talk to me about your impending retirement, I have to tell you, your attitude is not all that positive. You tell me you're worried that you won't be able to retire. You tell me you are so angry, frustrated, embarrassed that you didn't do more or do better with your money when you were younger. You tell me you're worried that everything you've done up to this point, saving diligently, living within your means, will not be enough. I hear from many of you who are retired now and yet are still worried you haven't done enough or done it right. Please listen closely. Stop focusing on what you didn't do or could have done differently. Stop beating yourself up about how you should have more, or how you should be in control of your finances at this point in your life. Stop being paralyzed by the fear of what may happen years from now. I have a firm belief when it comes to money, fear, shame, and anger are the main obstacles to wealth. They push us to do the wrong things and miss out on the smart choices that can move us toward our financial goals. I am asking you to let go of any fear, shame, or anger that lurks around retirement planning issues. You can't rewrite history, undo the past, or predict the future. But in terms of your money, you do have total control over how you will live right here, right now. There is so much you can do, and must do, before you actually retire that will help you realize the life you want to live in retirement. For those of you who are already retired, there is always the opportunity to reconsider and refocus your plan to make it work even better for the years ahead. I wrote this book for you, the worried, the fearful, the anxious. I know you need help navigating the road ahead. I've steered people toward happy and secure retirements my whole life. And now it's your turn. I titled this book The Ultimate Retirement Guide because I have plenty of advice to share. I haven't left anything on the table. In this book, I'm putting it all out there. Strategies, do's, don'ts, challenges. But honestly, none of that really matters if you can't master this one essential requirement. The only way to conquer fear is through action. Your optimism and resolve will be what transforms the advice in these pages into action and decisions that will propel you and your family toward the future you deserve. That means no focusing on the rearview mirror of life. Look at what you have today and what you can do to create the tomorrows you want and deserve. Suze's story. A few years into my career, the retirement landscape began to change for some of my clients. In 1987, Pacific Gas and Electric, the utility company for Northern California, was offering employees an early retirement package. They had decided to lay off thousands of workers who were in their early 50s. This news was not something the workers had expected. They assumed, of course, that they had a good 10 to 15 years of solid employment ahead of them. What a shock, then, when they were told their time at the company was up. Most of the employees being laid off had been with the utility for 25 years or more. PG&E hired me to give retirement seminars for their employees who had been offered early retirement. And here is what I learned from seeing hundreds of people who were suddenly out of work. Those who had an optimistic attitude, who believed they could make it work, would in fact make it work. Those who were afraid and angry, who believed PG&E had ruined their lives, had a hard time getting past those emotions and gaining control over their finances. Their actual financial situation had little to do with it. There were executives who were retiring with a monthly pension of more than $10,000. This was more than 30 years ago, and a few $1 million in savings. They were financially set, yet so many I met with were angry and focused on the past, not their future. Then there were the workers who were being shown the door with a $2,000 monthly pension and had $200,000 or so in savings. They were of course jolted by their impending job loss, but their focus was on how to make it work. And they did make it work, by making smart decisions about their pensions, by sometimes finding new work, by spending less, and, in some instances, by making a physical move to a less expensive home, or a less expensive city, to save money. They focused on what they had and what they could have in the future. For you to live the retirement you deserve, you need to let go of the past. Maybe there were some bad financial decisions at some point that derailed you. Maybe it was a divorce or an unexpected death. Maybe the Great Recession did a number on you or your loved ones, and you are still digging out financially. Maybe you are totally underwater paying back your kids' student loans. Maybe it's on you to take care of your aging parents. I get it. All these things, and plenty more, can sap your spirit as well as your finances. But here is something I would like you to do every time you begin to feel anxious and afraid. I want you to look in the mirror and say these words: I am a warrior. And I am not going to turn my back on the battlefield. I am well aware that my critics will sink their teeth into that one. Are you kidding me, Suze? That's the advice you're giving people. To which I would reply, oh, you bet it is. For here is the scoop, my friends. If you cannot pick yourself up, if you cannot start taking action right now, then who is going to do it for you? Look around you. Who cares about your money more than you do? The answer is no one. What happens to your money directly affects the quality of your life. Not my life. Not some financial advisor's life. But your life. Why a warrior and why a battlefield? Why did I choose these words to bolster your spirit? Because I want you to know that you have the strength and you can summon the courage to move toward your goals no matter what is in front of you. And because I know it is not always easy, you have the power within you. We all do. It's just a question of summoning the courage and the determination to tap that power. Together we can do this. Together we will tackle all the decisions that come into play at this stage of your life so that you can be free to actually enjoy your retirement. The ultimate retirement, as far as I am concerned, is one in which you are not stressed about money. I don't want you to spend your retirement worrying whether your savings are going to last. I don't want you to spend your retirement nervous about whether you made the right choices with your investments. You deserve so much more than fear in your later years. I can help you overcome all of that, no matter where you are in your financial life. No matter how much money you have or how little, you will find yourself in these pages. This book is not for your adult kids or grandkids. It is for anyone who is at least 50 years old and needs help laying out all the pieces of their retirement puzzle and then pulling them together into a cohesive plan. That includes those who are still working and want to keep working for many more years, as well as retirees eager to consider strategies that may increase their calm and confidence. There is always time and opportunity to adjust, adapt, and improve one's retirement strategy. What awaits you in the pages ahead? In the next chapter, we talk about family and how much, if at all, you can afford to provide financial support to your loved ones. Get perspective on that issue, and you will be in a far better position to create a secure retirement. Chapter 3 is for those of you who are still working. It is chock full of advice on moves to make between now and retirement. Then we need to have a clear-eyed chat about where you will live in retirement. From there I have a mega checklist of decisions you need to make before you reach age 70. The next 2 chapters tackle how to build a reliable stream of income that can last you 25 to 30 years and strategies for investing money in your retirement accounts. If all of that makes your head spin and you feel that you need more help, then by all means work with a financial advisor. In Chapter 8 I explain how to find a talented professional who will do right by you. Anyone can call themselves a financial advisor. Yet many are nothing more than salespeople looking to earn a commission off selling you something. I won't let you fall into that trap. Chapter 9 is, to be honest, my favorite of all. And if you have read any of my previous books or watched my public television specials, it won't come as a surprise to you. This chapter explores the must-have documents you can create today, and the decisions you can make today that will remove stress from your life and your children's lives. Yes, I am talking about wills and trusts and laying out your health care wishes. I can't overstate what a relief it will be to know you have everything in place. It frees you from so much worry in your retirement years. That is why I love it so much. This chapter is what will make it possible for you to relax. Knowing that you have done everything in your power to ensure smooth transitions is an incredible feeling. There is for sure a lot to digest in the pages ahead. Many of the actions I propose will require some difficult conversations, both with yourself and with loved ones. I've always preached that courage is a necessary component of wealth. The courage to face the future, with all of its difficult decisions and inevitable challenges. In this book, I will minimize the unknowns wherever possible and bolster you to dig deep and find the warrior within. I want to help you arrive at a point where you can look toward the future with confidence and optimism. I hope you will dive in with the spirit that propelled me as I wrote the book. Making smart choices in your 50 seconds and 60 seconds will give you the gift of not having to worry about finances in your 70 seconds, 80 seconds, and 90 seconds. And that is the ultimate as far as I am concerned. So, are you ready, my fellow warriors? Turn the page and let's get to work. Chapter 2: Family Ties. How to help the ones you love without hurting your retirement. The first step in building a secure retirement is to make sure that your heart is not making all the financial decisions. And when it comes to your family, your heart is always, always, always engaged. A parent never stops being a parent. Adult children are always and forever your kids. A parent who becomes a grandparent is blessed with the opportunity to love and nurture a new generation. As precious and enriching as those relationships are, they can also become pressure points as you near retirement and once you are retired. It is a very tough thing, I know, to step away from your decades-long role as provider. It is a fundamental, defining aspect of your identity. We all know that financial independence is an important milestone for an adult child that carries with it the confidence and strength to navigate one's way through life. Yet there is no clear playbook on when and how this should happen. Sometimes it is necessary to provide support to an adult child, but often it is something that parents just keep doing, without giving careful thought to whether the financial support is helping a child build toward financial independence or inadvertently encouraging them to not make it a priority. We also do it without really thinking through the ramifications on our own finances in the long term. While you may have been in a hurry to be on your own, your children may opt to stick around for a while. More adult children in their 20 seconds and 30 seconds live with their parents than did when you and I were their age. Living at home can be such a smart move for young adults who are juggling new careers that may not yet pay well, repaying student loans, and in no rush to dive into an expensive rental market. What I don't think is healthy, emotionally or financially, is when that adult child living in your home doesn't contribute to household costs. This has nothing to do with tough love. This has everything to do with continuing to be the strong, supportive parent who helps guide your children to become their best selves. It requires treating an adult child as an adult. If they live with you, they must contribute to the household costs. Asking them to participate as an adult is helping them become an adult. Even if your kid isn't living with you, chances are you continue to help. Recent surveys report that many parents with adult children help those children with rent, groceries, car loans, student debt, and vacations, sometimes into the 30 seconds and beyond. Parents say they are doing this with money they would should otherwise, be directing into their retirement savings accounts. Their eyes are wide open to the opportunity cost of providing continuing financial support. They are aware that they are potentially putting their future security at risk by continuing to support their adult children. Those parents are conscious of the fact that the money they spend on their adult children is money they really should be socking away for their future. Yet they can't stop themselves from being the provider. To me, that is the saddest part of this unhealthy financial dynamic. In this chapter, I am going to share with you my perspective on the ways financially supporting adult children can hold both of you back. I am not going to tell you to stop contributing, nor would I ever want you to abruptly change things, leaving your kids confused and in a financial lurch. However, what I want is for you to differentiate between financial assistance that helps with kids' needs versus money that funds their wants. And I will ask you to consider ways you can right-size your support so that it does not endanger your future. Then there are the grandkids. Oh, the grandkids, aren't they the best? You don't have to sweat all the tough things that go into raising them, you can just revel in them. But this relationship also needs a careful financial vetting. I know many of you see your children struggling to give your grandchildren a broad menu of experience and opportunity. Your provider gene kicks in, and you announce that you will help with the private school tuition, the after-school enrichment programs, the private coach, the summer camp, college tuition at your grandchild's dream school, or contributing to a 529 college savings plan, regardless of whether it is a strong financial fit for your family. Again, I am going to ask you to carefully consider whether you can afford to help in the ways you are. In the here and now, the answer will always seem to be yes. But your spending today must not imperil your ability to support yourself in your 90 seconds. As we will discuss throughout this book, someone who is 65 today stands a very good chance of being alive in their 10th decade. Complicating your retirement is that you may also need to provide for your own parents. Increasingly, adult children are helping support elderly parents. Some of you have already been launched into the experience of assisting an elderly parent in navigating their health care and shifting physical capabilities, and adapting to life after their spouse dies. Providing financial support is a wrenching development. You want to help, you need to help, and yet stepping in can imperil your own retirement security. I am extremely sensitive to the desire and the perceived need to do whatever it takes to keep your parents in the home they love, with the help they now need, or make it possible for them to move to an assisted living situation. If you can afford to provide that assistance, I can think of no greater use of money than to support those who have supported you. But this is possibly the biggest stand in your truth moment you will face in retirement. Many of you will have to make expensive trade-offs to provide this support for your parents. If you have children, that means you are putting your kids at risk of having to do the same for you at some point. Dollars you spend today to support your parents, and jobs you leave to care for your parents, mean you will have fewer dollars for your later life. You may be fueling a vicious cycle that can play out for generations. Perhaps with that perspective, you may find it easier to work with your parents and your siblings, to keep them comfortable and safe in a way that does not destabilize you and future generations. I hope you will take a deep breath and read what I have to say with an open mind, and take to heart the suggestions I have for how to juggle your beautifully intentioned desire to help, without hurting yourself. What we will cover in this chapter: The moves to make to help the ones you love without hurting your retirement, your kids and grandkids. Build a healthy money relationship with adult children. Resist co-signing for loans. Help build a financially healthy environment for your grandchildren. Your parents. Carefully consider the true cost of becoming a full-time caregiver. Be paid for your caregiving. Set a spending limit. Your kids and grandkids wanting to provide financial support for adult children and grandchildren comes from an instinctive parental urge to help. But what often gets lost in that decision is the calculation of whether helping your kids today will burden them in the future. A big problem is what I call the "it's only" syndrome. It's only $100 or $200 a month to help with the rent. It's only an extra $20 a month to keep paying for their cell plan. It's only $200 to help with the car payment or repaying their student loan debt. It's only $1,000 a year to help send the grandkids to camp. I want you to add up all the ways, big and small, you continue to provide support to an adult child, plus the money you spent in the last year on grandchildren. I think you may be shocked to see how much it's only is costing you every year. In my experience, it can add up to thousands of dollars. Many thousands if there are several kids and grandkids. I am not going to tell you to cut off a child who is struggling to make rent, but helping with a loan for a new car, continuing to carry an adult child on your health insurance and cell phone plan just because, and kicking in money for vacations. That's a hard no. In my opinion, when these parents tell me they don't have money to save for retirement, you know what I say. Well, of course you don't. Let's focus on the opportunity cost of helping your adult kids instead of helping yourself. Let's say you're providing $300 a month in various types of parental aid. If you instead save that $300 a month for the next 10 years, assuming a 5% annualized return, that's going to grow to nearly $47,000. Now ask yourself how scaling back that spending could keep you financially independent into your 90 seconds. Is it the money you think you don't have for purchasing long-term care insurance? Is it the money that is keeping you from paying off your mortgage before you retire? Is it the money that can make it possible to delay Social Security until you are 70 so you can receive the highest possible payout? Is it the money that, if saved today, could help pay for at-home care down the line, rather than needing your family to step in financially or as a caregiver? I hope that viewing these questions from the perspective of future financial independence will motivate you to reconsider the type and magnitude of support you can provide for your family. Build a healthy money relationship with adult children. Home rules, as I mentioned earlier. If an adult child lives with you, they should contribute to household expenses. How much is up to you? I want to be clear that this is not solely about helping you financially. It is about respecting a child as the adult they are. I want your child to set up an automated monthly direct deposit from their checking account into yours. This is not something to be left to their best intentions, nor do I want it to be a constant point of discussion or contention in your home. As you progress through this book, you may often greet advice with a shrug and the thought, "I can't afford to do that." Suze, please circle back to this discussion we are having right now. I think for many of you, the money your adult child contributes will allow you to tackle all sorts of financial goals. Paying down credit card debt, bulking up your emergency savings, paying down the remaining mortgage. But if you don't have any pressing financial needs, you might consider setting the money aside for your kid. It's up to you when you return the money to them. Maybe you use it to help them fund a Roth IRA each year. As long as they have earned income of their own, you can provide the dollars to contribute to a Roth IRA. Or when they are working on moving out, you've just helped them cover the security deposit or jumpstart their emergency savings fund. Rent if you have credit card debt or are still paying off a mortgage near retirement. I don't think you have any business helping with a child's rent. That said, if you are intent on helping, I hope you will set the lowest possible contribution level. Helping a child rent a room in a shared apartment or house is one thing. Bankrolling their own place because they don't want roommates is not your concern. A car, you are never to help a child buy a new car. And don't you ever support them leasing. If a child needs a car, they should be shopping for a used car that they can pay for with the shortest term loan possible. The average new car loan payment in 2019 was more than $500 a month for nearly 70 months. That is financially insane for anyone, let alone an adult child who should be spending the least amount possible to free up money for other goals. Moving out, paying down student loan debt within 10 years, starting an emergency savings fund, contributing to a Roth IRA. Health insurance. Children under the age of 26 are allowed to remain on a parent's health insurance plan. Given that employers are increasingly requiring employees to shoulder more of the monthly premium cost and cover a bigger chunk of any care, this may not be the best financial decision for you. At a minimum, if your child is working, they should cover their share of the premium. But I encourage you to consider taking them off your plan. Even if your child doesn't qualify for coverage at their job, they can get coverage through the Affordable Care Act's Health Care Exchange. The younger they are, the lower their premium cost, and someone who is just starting out professionally may qualify for a subsidy. This can be a big money saver for single parents, as it will enable you to switch your coverage from family to individual, which means a lower premium and a lower annual deductible. Student loans if you are nearing retirement and have any outstanding debts. You have no business helping a child pay back their student debt. Getting your own finances in order takes precedence. Moreover, I think many of your children likely have a manageable amount of debt. They may not feel like it is manageable, and that's where you may be able to step in with some perspective. A rule of thumb is that if a new graduate's total loan balance is less than they will earn in their first year of work, they should be able to pay off the loan in 10 years. The average student loan balance these days is less than $40,000. That suggests that plenty of graduates will have enough income to handle the monthly payments on a 10-year standard repayment plan. If your children come to you asking for help repaying their college loans, I am asking you to discuss their overall spending before you agree to step in and help. Is there a problem with the student loan because their rent and car payments are so high? Before you make the trade-off of helping them pay back student loans, I think it is reasonable to ask them to make the right trade-offs in their own spending. What about helping pay for grad school? Absolutely not, unless you are completely sure it will not imperil your retirement security. No guessing or hoping allowed. This is where sitting down with a fee-only financial planner can help you carefully run the numbers. In Chapter 8 I explain how to shop for a reputable financial planner. Resist co-signing for loans. Being debt-free in retirement will be a central driver of your financial and emotional security. That's the first reason why I don't want you to co-sign a loan for a child without serious consideration of what you are putting at stake. You may think this is no big deal, you're just co-signing. It's not like you need to shell out money each month to pay back the car loan, student loan, personal loan, or mortgage. You know your kid, and you know there is no chance there will be any slip-up. I know your kid has every intention of staying on top of the payments. But what if he or she loses a job or becomes ill? You will be expected to step up and pay back the loan. The other problem I have is that I think there can be a tendency for a child to borrow more. Because they can, when a parent co-signs. I know that's not your fault, nor is it your intention. But co-signing is often the gateway to kids taking on more debt than they need, at the cost of not having more dollars to put toward important financial goals. Help build a financially healthy environment for your grandchildren. You have two relationships to navigate here. What your children may expect you to contribute toward grandchild-related expenses and your own personal money relationship with your grandchildren. Let's start with your kids. By now you likely know what I am about to say. Just because you want to help your kids does not mean you can or should. This is the opposite of being selfish. Making sure you have enough money to take care of you is how you keep your kids, and maybe even your grandkids, from having to step in years from now. I know this may seem difficult to ponder. It is not easy to disappoint anyone, let alone the people you love most. But again, you are focused on the here and now. If you look into your future, I think your kids will be so glad you carefully managed your finances. I offer you some advice that has helped me navigate family relationships. Say no out of love, rather than yes out of fear. Your love for them is what motivates you to make difficult but loving choices that will protect them by keeping you financially independent. It is my hope that you will also look for opportunities to provide some parental guidance on financial choices. I realize this can be treacherous. You don't want to tell an adult child what they should do. Saving for college is the area I am most concerned about. Young parents often make the mistake of saving for college the minute their child is born. Don't get me wrong, that is a wonderful instinct. But it is nonetheless the wrong move if they have credit card debt, don't have an 8-month emergency fund, and aren't saving 15% of their salary in retirement accounts. All of those priorities take precedence. If your kids ask you to contribute to their college savings plans for your grandkids, I would love for you to step in and ask how they are doing on those other important financial goals. Tell them Sue says she wants the best for those grandkids, and she says saving for college is not the family's top financial priority. There are loans for college, and plenty of ways to get a college degree with a moderate amount of debt. There are no loans for retirement. Now let's talk about your grandkids and the gift giving. For starters, as your grandchildren age, my advice is to give shared experiences as gifts, rather than another toy, gadget, or gift card. Studies show that gifting an experience delivers more happiness than gifting stuff. Sharing a ball game, a movie, a trip to the theater, a hike, a fishing trip, a visit to the state fair or an amusement park is not just fun in the moment. It makes lasting shared memories. If you want to give grandchildren money as gifts, I would talk to their parents first about how you hope the money is used. It is my belief that every child should learn from the earliest possible age the 3-bucket approach: spend, save, share. Every child should have the freedom to spend a portion of a cash gift on anything they want, with no judgment from the parents or grandparents. A portion should be saved, and every child should be encouraged to share a portion of their financial gifts with others. Instilling charity as a part of their life from a very young age is in itself a priceless gift. Discuss your thoughts about the spend, save, Share approach with your kids before giving any money to your grandkids. Yes, it is your money, but you are not the parent here. They are. It is so important to respect that. Ideally, your kids already have a plan like this in place. If not, ask them their thoughts on what you propose. I am confident you can work out a system that makes everyone happy. Your parents carefully consider the true cost of becoming a full-time caregiver. Millions of adult children in their 50 seconds and 60 seconds are now caregivers to their elderly parents. Many of those children, and it is typically the daughters, end up leaving their jobs to step in and provide full-time care. If you and your siblings are ever contemplating having one of you provide this support, please first think through the financial cost. The loss of salary is obvious. If you are single, there may be the cost of health insurance, which if you are not yet Medicare eligible can mean a premium of hundreds of dollars a month, plus higher deductibles and co-pays than you may have encountered when you were covered through work. Then there is the lost opportunity to keep saving for your retirement, and perhaps the matching contribution you are no longer getting from an employer. Quitting your job will also reduce your Social Security benefit, as you are no longer earning work credits. If you are married, relying on one salary in your 50 seconds and 60 seconds could be risky, as there is no guarantee that the salaried spouse will not run into a layoff or illness. Are all of those reasons not to become a full-time caregiver? Of course not. I respect that the decision may not be driven by the financial fallout, but I am asking you to at least understand the ramifications of this decision and consider whether there might be alternatives that don't put you at such risk. I know that many of you are dealing with a parent who wants to stay in their home. But would selling the home and moving to a less expensive home or apartment leave enough profit from the sale to pay for the care your parent needs, or pay for them to move to assisted living? If the answers to those questions are yes, then you need to start this conversation with your parent. These are options that allow you to keep working. Or, as we will discuss in Chapter 4, would it be at all practical for a parent to come live with you? I know this is not logistically or emotionally feasible for all families, but for some it can be a wonderful solution that works on many levels. Be paid for your caregiving. If you do decide to become a full-time caregiver, you should be paid, if that is possible. Don't start with me that you are doing this out of love. Of course you are. It's also work that should be compensated. A parent can pay the caregiving child, or if there are siblings, those who aren't the caregiver should help out financially. Everyone can give relative to their situation. I am not naive. I know this subject is a powder keg for some families. I would still encourage you to make it clear what your expectations are. That's in your control. Hopefully you have solid relationships, and this is something your siblings will want to do. If not, you have tried. If you or another family member is going to step in as a full-time caregiver, I suggest working with an elder law attorney to help draft a personal care agreement. This is a legal document that spells out who will be responsible for paying the caregiver. I think it is a smart way for families to spell out how the sibling who is stepping in as the primary caregiver will be compensated. You can learn more at caregiver.org. You can search for elder care lawyers in your area at the website of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys. The personal care agreement should also spell out that the child or sibling who will be the primary caregiver has a certain number of free hours each week. This is non-negotiable. Do you hear me? Caregivers must be given the space to be their own person, whether that means vegging out in the backyard, meeting friends for a movie or dinner, taking a walk in the park or an exercise class. And you'd better believe that contract needs to spell out at least 2 weeks of vacation, when someone else will step in to give the caregiver time off. How much your family should pay the sibling who steps in as the caregiver is going to depend on resources. If you are moving in with a parent, that impacts everyone's finances. At a minimum, your family should cover the health insurance premiums for the caregiver, and be ready to step in with help on deductibles and co-pays. On top of that, there is to be a monthly salary. I want the salary to be enough that the caregiver will be able to contribute $7,000 a year to a Roth IRA. That's the 2020 maximum for anyone who is at least 50 years old.